welcome back to an interesting episode of whatever I do. If you can't tell by the title, we are going to be putting a electronic hydraulic power steering unit from a Volvo into a Chevy S-10. Now, if you are a returning viewer, you will know that my Chevy S-10 is actually not a Chevy S-10. And if you are new here, this is my Chevy S-10. I say this in every video because it's just easier to explain. Yes, this looks like a Chevy Corvair. It technically, legally is a Chevy Corvair, but it is on an S-10 frame. So technically the running gear is still S-10. So that's why I have this labeled as how to put this in your S-10, because it is still S-10. The steering box is still S-10. Anyway, everything on this table is just about all you need to put one of these into your S-10, or really any car for that matter. So I figured we'll go over the super short parts list and then we'll just immediately get right into the build. If you don't care about the parts list, but I really think you should, you can skip ahead to this timestamp. Okay, starting with the obvious, this is a Volvo electronic hydraulic power steering pump. Interestingly enough, apparently Ford used to own Volvo. So on this it says FOMOCO, which I'm assuming stands for Ford Motor Company. And it's in the Ford font, so can't believe I'm putting Ford parts on my Chevy. And then this is a bracket for it as well. Now you can find these on eBay. I forget exactly what models they come in. I'll put that up on the screen. But these came in a lot. They came in two styles. This one and then a remote mount reservoir, which basically the reservoir was just higher up. I just went with this one because it was the first one I saw. Now you can find these at a junkyard for probably 50 bucks. I bought this one on eBay. I don't want to tell you how much I spent on it because it was a lot of money. And what's really upsetting is I bought this and 2 weeks later, my dad and I were at the junkyard where I found my Gen 5 supercharger, and sitting there was two Volvos, and one of them for sure had this exact pump, and I probably could have gotten it for like 50 bucks. So I spent way too much money for this. Way too much. So there's that. This is a custom hydraulic fitting for the pressurized line. Long story short, I went to my local Napa because they make their own hydraulic fittings there, and I basically told them what I needed, and they were like, okay, that's going to be 50 bucks because one of these fittings is, I think, $20 each. So each fitting is $20, and then the hose was about 10. It's 50 bucks. However, they had this one that was pre-made that someone ended up not being able to use, and they were like, if you want to buy this one, we'll make you a deal and sell it to you for 30. And I was like, I don't know if this will work or not, so we'll go 30. So I bought this one, and it will work. It's a little long, so it's going to be bent, but 20 bucks is 20 bucks that I can invest towards something else. So hydraulic fitting there. And then two various fittings that I also got from Napa. I forget which these are. I'll put them up on the screen. But basically it is an adapter, hydraulic adapter to go from the pump, fitting, hose, to fitting to S-10 steering box. They're just adapters. So there's that. I also have some various wire. I believe this is 6 gauge. Yeah, you need 6 gauge wire. This is power wire. I don't know if this is going to be enough. And then you also need the ground wire here. I have not gotten the ground yet because I wasn't sure how much I needed. And then this is a fuse or a breaker, an 80 amp fuse or breaker. It's called a breaker. Right? And what that is these draw right about 60 amps, I believe. However, they can spike and draw up to 80 amps at a time. So everyone recommends this. I will link this down in the description below. Actually, I'll link most of this in the description. So there's that. And then the most important part of all. This is a variable speed controller, for lack of better terms. And let me explain. So you have these wires on your pump. You have your power and your ground. Don't need to worry about that. Then you have these 3 wires here. Your gray, light blue, gray looking one here, this is your 12-volt key. You hook that up to your key, it sends power to the pump and turns it on. These are internally relayed, so you don't need to wire up a relay. You just need to put this to a 12-volt keyed power. The other 2 wires, which is light blue with red and gray with red, are, I think it's called a can or a canvas or something. Basically, these hook up to something in your Volvo that knows if you're in a parking lot going 5 miles per hour and you need to turn your car, it will increase the power output of this to, let's say, 100%. But let's say I'm going 60 miles per hour down the highway, nice and straight. It will know that I don't really need any steering, so it will drop the power output down to like 10 or something like that. Now, you can, I think if you just twist these together, it will default to right about 60 or 70% output. And that's what a lot of people do. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to buy this, and this is a variable speed controller. Basically, it plugs in to here, and then you have your box, and then you have 4 wires. One is power, one is switched power, one is ground, and the other 2 go to basically a volume knob. And this volume knob, you can manually adjust the power output. So let's say I'm drag racing, I don't need any power steering, I don't want any parasitic drag on my alternator. I can basically turn this all the way down, or shut it off because I'm going to have it on a switch. But let's say I'm doing a road course or a road race or really curvy roads, turn that up to 10, you have 100% of the power. So this is really cool. I think that's about it, other than a ground wire, because I don't know how long I need, and a few various hardware. I think we're good to go. So I think it's not even 6 o'clock yet. That's crazy. I think we should just bring my car in here and kind of start mocking it up, because what's nice is you have this one bracket here and these rubber bushings to kind of help with the vibration, right? And then I also have another bracket that goes on here, and I was thinking it would be nice to use this because it's already made for it, but the parts that connect this bracket to the bracket here, I could also put rubber mounts because my car shakes a lot and it just vibrates a lot and it's a really rough ride. So anything to protect this. So yeah, that's everything we need. Let's bring my S-10 in here. Okay, in case you didn't believe me, Chevy Corvair, supercharged 3800, Chevy S-10 frame, and that is the steering box down there. One thing I forgot to mention is the return line. That is non-pressurized, so you can use your factory S-10 steering line, and that's what this is here. I just looped it, and when I looped it, I filled it up with power steering fluid, so I haven't been running it dry. It's funny, I'm actually already used to driving it without power steering, but I don't like driving it without power steering, and I don't want to convert it to a manual box. I'm not going to do that. So I'm looking at this cavity right here, where I have the return line and some wiring and some horns, and I think that power steering pump will fit very nicely right here. We might have to modify the bracket a little bit, but I'm really not concerned about that. But I think it could fit there, and then we just have the lines right there. Super simple. See how nice that fits there? Everything, it's like it's meant to be. Unfortunately, that's not going to work because the pressurized port is right at the tip of my finger, and I need it to go that way. But it doesn't fit that way. It's too big unless I trim down this bracket or modify the crap out of my wheel well, and I am not going to do that. So I think we're going to ditch him. And I don't want to, but we might temporarily ditch him. It's just this is a nice bracket here that I can use for mounting. As a matter of fact, I think I maybe just figured out my mounting dilemma. I think I might cut this, cut this, cut this, bring this over here, and that can get bolted at an angle to my wheel well, like that. So I'm actually trying to step up my fabrication game and just the way that I do things. So instead of cutting them, I took the time and drilled out the spot welds. So this bracket was right here, but I'm thinking it would work better here. And not only that, the spot welds line up just about perfect. Okay, just cut that edge off, took my file and made it smooth, and then I wasn't paying attention and cut through the bolt on the bottom. Whoops. Okay, I think we have a really good game plan. I got a block of wood down there supporting it, kind of lifting it up. I have the bracket from that side that's going to go here, right? We're going to weld that to there, right? And then we're going to bend it at a whatever angle. Actually, it's probably going to be more of a curve, right? And that will be there. Then I'm going to take this one and bend this part here more parallel or more horizontal, and that will bolt to right there. And from there, that will go at a 45-degree angle, and that will bolt then to my radiator support. So that will go something like that. And then I was thinking, you know, that's probably enough. However, I also have this bracket. And I was like, well, I could bend this bracket at a 45 and then bend this one at a 45 to kind of make it more of a Z. And then you have, ignore the wiring, I'm sorry. You have this bolt down there, the one, not the one sideways, the one up and down. And that could go through here. And then this could then bolt to the bolt. Sorry, it's hard to film one-handed. Right there. Bam! So we would have 3 points of mounting. And I really like that. All right, so here is the bracket for the radiator support. And you can see I did just kind of notch it. And now it fits perfect. Oh, wow. Look at that. Like it's meant to be. Alrighty, we got everything bolted back in. Looks good. Has some wiggle room, of course, but it's still pretty sturdy, so I feel good about that. So I think we're going to, I want to do the hydraulic lines, but now that I think about it, I need to get the old hydraulic fluid out of the steering box because this takes a specific hydraulic steering fluid, so I don't want to mix the two. So, you know, now that I think about it, I could probably put my air nozzle on that on really low pressure. Oh, keep going though. That bottle is filling up. All right, we had the nephew turn the wheels. This is the bottle. The air pressure worked. I just kept it really low. So I'm like almost guaranteed this one is the return and that one's a hydraulic. I'm gonna double check that. Okay, and then I have the two fittings here. The bigger one here is the S-10 side. It has an O-ring built in, so you shouldn't have to use any Teflon tape. What do you have to say to the people? Subscribe to...
Bro, sub. Sub. Get this man to 50,000, all right?
That's a great idea. I'm going to basically cut that right here, slip it on, hose clamp it, and the hydraulic side is done. Then it all comes down to the wiring. Oh, and I forgot to mention I do have most of it ran. Now, you're probably looking at this and going like, wow, that looks really bad. And I would agree with you. I do have a cover here. One of the projects this winter is to take this entire wiring harness, ECU included, and locate it underneath the dash inside to really help clean it up. And so a lot of this wiring will be cleaned up and look much better. A lot of this was just done to get the car running. Let's get this cut. We'll throw that on there and then continue the wiring. All right, just had a great idea. If I can find a place to mount this where it goes into here and would go into there, I wouldn't have to do any more soldering on that. So I made this little bracket out of aluminum. As you can see, I mounted that super straight. Took some small riv nuts and attached that. And this, there is a carriage bolt right there. So I'll undo the bolt there, or honestly probably just get another bolt and mount that there. And as you can see, this wire will get cut and go right there. And this wire won't need to be cut because it will just plug in right there. And that is my breaker right there. The pump is fully mounted. We got the ground cable taken care of. I put one of these clips on the ground cable just to kind of keep it from rattling. And then that goes down to the mount there. I cleaned that mount up and everything. I'm going to put some paint over it to keep it from rusting. So that's good. I think I already showed you the cables. And then here is the breaker fuse. I'm really happy with this because I didn't have to solder anything. It's currently off. That is on, right? And then you can see there's like a gap there, right? So I'm gonna get some like waterproof silicone and just put that in there and waterproof it. But that looks all good and it works. I didn't actually know if this pump worked or not, or unit worked. So I just took the old harness, plugged it in, turned on the breaker, held it to the battery, and yup, right about a 3-second delay, and it went bzzz, and I quick kicked it off because I didn't have any fluid in it. So that's where we're at. I'm really happy with this so far. It's very firm, but definitely has some give. And then I'm just mounting up my controller. Unfortunately, I am out of loom. And if I'm being honest, I really don't like this loom. I'm not a huge fan of it. My dad had some of this, but this is way too big. So we're gonna wait on that. And then we have the controller, which will be held in with the self-tapper. Got the gas door there, where, it used to have the gas door. And that will mount in there. So now we are about to run some wire for this stuff, and then hopefully we will be done here very shortly. I think we're gonna cut some wire and get going. We don't need to run the ground. I'll just ground it to probably here where I have the ground for my relay. Again, I know a lot of people are probably gonna comment on the wiring, but again, I just wanna reiterate, the wiring is truly not done. That is like one of the biggest next things that I'm going to do, but that just has to wait for right now, unfortunately. All right, it is basically done for the most part. So this is the middle one here is the power steering pump. So turn this up and that will turn it on, but I have the fuse tripped. And then right here is the variable speed controller. I have it turned all the way counterclockwise, which I assume is the lowest setting, and then you turn that and that goes to the highest setting. So I'm going to put it right roughly in the middle. Yeah, roughly there-ish. We're basically ready. Wow, this is super messy. So we're going to flick that. I'm only going to start it for a literal second. Actually, you know what? I'm not. I'm going to actually put some power steering fluid in it. I don't want to run that dry at all. So I ended up getting this stuff. It says for American, European, and Asian vehicles, and electronic power steering fluid compatible. So I got this. These were like 17 bucks. I got all three because I didn't know how much I was going to need. So we're just going to dump one in, and then I'm going to flick the switch for a second just so you can hear it. Okay. Again, I'm just turning it on and off. That is all. Ready? Also, I think it's a 3-second delay. Contact. Bam. That works. All right. So what I'm going to do is I got the car lifted. Steering wheel unlocked. And I think I'm just going to hit that switch. All right, contact. Ooh, wow, that drank a lot of fluid. All right, you can see it's right here. And then you see these two lines. This one is minimum, this one is maximum. So I do have it a little overflowed, but I think we will be okay. All right, now for the ultimate moment of truth. I think it's basically bled. Let's see if the variable speed controller works. In the instructions, it said that it's not instant. If I turn it down, it does not instantly go. It's like a few second delay. So, all right, turning it on. Wow, that's like a 1 second delay. All right, turning it down. Okay, I'm gonna turn it all the way up instantly, and we're gonna see how long it takes. All right, that's all the way up. I hope you guys can hear that still. Wow, what a success that was. That's outstanding. That is so cool. I'm so excited. Let's see. Just make sure that works. What happens if I do this? Yep. All right, that's a little full. I think I got it all bled too. It bled pretty quickly. Yeah, okay. Wow. Glad I bought all three of those. So I think I'm going to keep one of them, and then I'm going to return the other one because I don't need that. And I guess I can also let the car down. That will be an interesting test. Obviously, the car isn't running, and running that pump by itself is going to drain that battery super quick. It looks like I'm leaking fluid. Oh my God, am I? Oh, is this just residual? Hold up. Alrighty, so not quite sure what was going on there. I had my dad come out because I was like, there's no way. There's no way. And he came out and he was able to tighten it even more, but he had the same concern as me. So we got it pretty tight and then turned it back on and it was leaking again. And we were like, what the heck? So we disconnected the return line, put it in a bottle, turned it on, drained it all, and then took it out and put some Teflon tape on there really nicely and then tightened it all up. And so far, nothing is leaking. So I think we're good there. I mean, we made a quite the mess though. The other thing is a lot of people are going to go, can your alternator handle it? And I really think I can. Not me. I think my alternator can. And this is why. This engine and alternator came out of a fully loaded 2000 Pontiac Bonneville. We're talking dual front heated seats, 6-way adjustment, passenger and driver. It had air shocks in the back. It had a ton of electronics. That car had so many electronics if that makes sense. Sunroof, everything. And that alternator was able to power that no problem. This car has a standalone engine harness and a very, very basic standalone body harness. Literally dash lights, headlights, taillights. That's what the body harness is. And now this, and this has a max output of 80 amps. And I don't think I'm ever going to get that much because I'm realizing even at 50% power, that's more than what I need. So I really don't think I'm ever going to overload that alternator. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll put it up on screen in case I'm wrong. I want to say it's either 180 amps or 220 amps is the output, maybe. Oh, now I got to Google this. Okay, I was slightly mistaken. I just Googled it. The stock one puts out 105 amps, but you can get aftermarket ones that put out 220 and 320 amps, which is pretty good. I'm really intrigued by the 220 one because I want to put off-road lights on this. I want to have more off-road lights than just my front floodlights. My goal for this is like a rally car, so putting more lights on it. And then I also have these big 2 10-inch subs in the back that need to be wired up yet. So I guess that's another upgrade that I will need is a bigger alternator. But I have no doubt in my mind that that alternator will be able to power this and the rest of the car at once. I am beyond happy. And it looks really clean right here. I mean, I guys, I promise my wiring is not done. I beg of you, and my ABS is being deleted. Please do not look at that. All right. Guess what? Don't remember the last time I filmed was kind of a reoccurring trend on this channel. I think the last time I filmed was end of October. I think October 25th was the last time I filmed, which is when I kind of got everything all set up. Today is November 18th, so almost a month later. Whoops. I originally in the video wanted to, start it up, take it for a test drive, and get my first initial reaction on camera, and I didn't. I'm glad I didn't, though, and this is why. Because I went from no power steering, I mean really having to crank that wheel, to power steering. And even on the lowest setting of the adjustable power output, it felt like it was I can't explain it. It felt way too powerful on the lowest setting. So when I started driving it, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. This doesn't feel right. It feels too easy to turn. I was considering maybe ditching the setup and going back to no power steering. I'm glad I didn't, because I'm actually kind of an idiot. I've been driving the car with no power steering, so a little power steering is going to make it seem like a lot of power steering. You know what I'm saying? So after a couple of days of driving this with power steering, I'm already used to it. And I'm glad I didn't ditch the power steering. That would have been really dumb. So that being said, this is probably one of the best upgrades that I've done to this car. I know I originally had power steering with the 3800 power steering pump powering the S-10 steering box, and then I was driving it around for about a month without power steering, and now I'm back to power steering. So it's not like I gained something that I never had, but it's different, if that makes sense. Do you understand anything that I'm saying? Because I don't. Anyway, point I'm getting at is this was a really good upgrade for this car. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, the power steering pump on the engine worked just fine, but I moved the alternator to the power steering pump location, so I didn't have power steering. I think I have said that about 1,000 times now. I think you guys get that point. So anyway, now that we're up to speed, we're actually towards the end of the video, and my overall thoughts to this entire project is obviously worth it. the variable power control is a very interesting thing, because I thought I was going to have it turned to like 50% or 60% power. I actually don't know what the power increase is. I just go in increments of 10, right? So I thought I'd have it at about 50% or whatever. Almost all the time, literally 99% of the time, I have it at the lowest setting. The absolute lowest setting that it will go. That's all that this needs. At the lowest percentage that the knob turns to is about the same as what the 3800 power steering pump put out. Does that also make sense? So at the lowest, it's giving the same exact that the 3800 put out. In a way, I didn't really need the variable power supply thing because I don't use it, but I'm glad I still have it because the default is still like 70%, which would be too much. You can drive it with 100% power, but you don't need it at 100% power. I mean, this car is fairly light, so there's that. So other than that, I haven't had any issues. Unfortunately, it's 5 o'clock and it's already dark out. Time change has already happened. That's how long it's taken me to finish this video. So it's already dark out. So I'm just not going to be able to take it for a test drive in this video, but I can promise you that it works just fine. So this is with no power steering. Right? Obviously, pretty hard. Now, this is where I usually have it. Right? This is all the way down. Still very easy, even on the absolute lowest setting. And then this is all the way turned up. So, yeah, as you can see, everything works totally fine. That's basically it. Pretty straightforward install. I really like that I was able to disassemble the old bracket and kind of rearrange it and build a new bracket. I'm pretty proud of that, just because it ended up working really well. That's all I got for you guys. This is probably going to be one of the last videos you see on this car for quite a while. I have one more planned, which I'm actually about to film as soon as I'm done with this one. And that's going to be comparing, is it cheaper to LS swap your S10 or 3800 swap your S10? I'm going to compare the costs of everything. And then I'm basically going to put this car under a tarp outside and forget about it for several months because I'm about to start my next big project with my dad, which is going to be our LS swapped Mustang. We have a 2008 Mustang that we are going to LS swap. And then as a side project, I am building a replica 1913 Indian motorcycle, basically from scratch. So that will be really cool. I'm really excited for that. Really excited for that. So those projects are kind of gonna, I'm gonna do two projects at once, for lack of better terms. So this project is going to be put on the back burner, and then sometime this winter, I would like to tackle all of the problems that need to be fixed before next season, we'll say. I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any comments or questions on how to do this, please comment them below. I'd love to help you answer those. Like the video, that helps me get this video out here, and subscribe because we are almost at 30,000 30,000 subscribers, which is very, very exciting. Maybe I'll do something for 30,000. Maybe I won't. I have no idea. We'll see. We'll see when I get there. We'll see when I get there. So, yeah. With that being said, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.